Hey, what's up, guys? Here to talk to you about SmartGarden, bringing autonomy to Ethereum's infinite garden. And as what was being said, it's a really nice way of using Chainlink automation. We're on chainification, me, Gosuto, together with Petrovska, and for the last 2 years, we've been helping DAOs automate their treasury and work on operations for treasuries of DAOs. And we saw a lot of opportunity there to streamline this process, make it more efficient, and automate parts of it. And SmartGarden is basically a product or tool that brings that to more people and other DAOs as well, without us constantly needing to be involved. So a little bit of history. 2 years ago, we started looking at this at a DAO, and realized that basically everything that the treasury was doing there was something that was completely manual and was very inefficient and took a lot of time, and maybe not even really worth the time because of that. What we started to do first is build Great Ape Safe, which is basically a Python script that builds a transaction, and because of that, makes it a lot easier to run some of these transactions and build multi-calls and not have to go into UIs, do a lot of clicking, especially for repetitive tasks that happen on a weekly or monthly basis. Just need to run a script, and there's a lot of automation that can already happen in the background there, but we're still needing to run this script actually, right? So that's actually still being used. Badger DAO is a big user. Balancer's using it as well. Python module, you can find it on GitHub, and yeah, lots of volume that's being pushed through that package currently. So here's a really quick example just to give you an idea, but the command that we're using, or the Python command that we're using here, is ave.deposit. And very intuitively, you give the token, and the number of tokens that you want to deposit into it, and then you can see the definition of that deposit function under there, and you can see all the logic that's happening in the background. That's basically something you don't have to worry about anymore, right? So we're figuring out the A token for Aave that belongs to USDC. We're checking the balance before the deposit. And after, making sure that the balance actually increases, doing the approval and the actual deposit without you having to figure out what's the function I need to call on the actual Solidity smart contract. Okay, that was great, but still it's something that's happening off chain and something you need to run yourself. The next step that we took there is say, okay, let's take that logic and let's move it onto the chain, into a smart contract. Because of that, the code is immutable. People can see what's actually happening. You build a lot of more trust. And obviously, the big winner there also is that now we don't have to run the script anymore, but Chainlink keepers can call these functions on these smart contracts, so we don't have to wake up in the middle of the night to perform a function or monitor a certain balance or something like that. That's all being done by Chainlink keepers. And there's therefore no more need for signatures on these multi-sigs, because the signers sign off on the fact that the keeper is actually able to perform these actions instead of the signers needing to be involved constantly. So that actually ended up in creating quite a big, complex system of multiple smart contracts. You can see here the pentagons are the smart contracts, and the squares are the different multi-sigs that DAO has, and those are then interacting with the various DeFi protocols on the other side. So there's a gas station which is topping up developer accounts, but also the various balances for the multi-sigs. There's an actual upkeep manager, which is managing the Chainlink automation functions. It itself is getting topped up by the gas station, so you see there's a synergy between the two, and basically creating a whole system of harvesting, topping up, rebalancing, which is completely autonomous, right? There's no intervention needed here at all. Everything happens completely automated and on chain. So this is one of the results of that system. We're actually the biggest user of Chainlink automation currently. You can see a list here of all the various upkeep processes that are active. And another very cool result is that this system transacted over more than 200 transactions, which if you think about it and you realize that every single transaction without this system would have needed, at least 5 signers to look at the transaction and to figure out, like, is this something, the DAO is willing to do? Is this something that we, are gonna sign or not? That's a huge win, right? Let's say everyone's looking at a transaction for 10 minutes, one transaction that's already like 50 minutes, or let's say an hour of just review work of, is this transaction gonna go through? So 200 transactions is a lot of time saved for all these developers that could have, that are now using their time differently, right? And yeah, so think about token swapping, the gas top-ups I mentioned, rebalancing of accounts, swapping tokens into stable, creating a stable runway for the DAO, relocking, harvesting of fees, etc. There's lots of stuff that the DAO doesn't have to worry about anymore. The problem with that, though, is a little bit that it was a very custom system for that particular DAO, and we want to try to generalize that system and make it available to a lot more DAOs or even power users. We started working on a couple of proof of concepts. Safe Panic module is one, which is a module being a smart contract that you install basically on a multisig. We built that out during a hackathon, in this case allowing a single owner of a multisig to sign on a very particular specific set of transactions, again saving a lot of time, not having to involve other signers, and in this case that's for like emergency situations where there's a hack or something like that. You allow withdrawals, for example, to be signed by one particular signer or by one single signer instead of all the signers. We worked then on SmartGarden v0 at another hackathon, and this is the result thereof. So you can see this was in Tokyo. We got a lot of bounties there, and then for SmartGarden, won some prizes as well. And for us, this was an indication of the fact that we're on our way to something interesting, and we decided to keep going with that. So what is SmartGarden? SmartGarden is that DeFi library app that you can use to automate your portfolio management. And at the same time, we're throwing in some safety and security features and a lot of decoding or abstracting away of complicated gauge addresses, solidity code, due diligence. So we ended up creating not necessarily smart contracts by themselves, but smart contracts in the form of modules, again, that are like plugins that you install on your safe multisig that then perform various functions and that are interoperable and able to communicate with each other. Modules like that exist already, but a big difference here is that these modules are always something that a developer has to install and deploy and run, whereas we provide an actual UI that takes away a lot of that complexity for you. And then there's a chance to automate these actions, right? Again, without having to dive into like what's the particular deposit function that I need to call for whatever protocol. That's already in that DeFi library app. We already figured it out. It's audited. You don't have to worry about it anymore. And then recently, SafeCore launched a white paper, which basically defines a certain standard around these plugins for any smart accounts, basically, and we made sure that we're compliant with that. So this is the V0 basically, or the first step in that in that process. You can see you have multiple plugins here. With the safe, a staker, harvester, and a swapper, and then DeFi as whatever protocol you see fit. And there's already a lot of different combinations you can make just by configuring these 3 separate plugins, right? You can think of maybe starting at the arrow on the right. Let's say you get paid in a certain token, whatever, USDC, but you prefer DAI. You can configure the swapper to automatically swap USDC to DAI whenever that comes into your safe. From DeFi, you can configure maybe the harvester to harvest a certain gauge once a week or once a month, and then maybe move that over to the swapper. And let's say you're harvesting curve, swap that curve automatically to a different asset, and maybe even restake that back into the protocol and basically create like an auto compounding contract, but on your safe and not necessarily external to your account, right? Meaning you always keep the custody of those funds. Yeah, so that's a little bit what we got up to now with V0. Here's some links, QR code to our website, or our link tree, I think it is. And yeah, looking for ideas, looking for feedback, looking for people that are see the value of this. Let me know if you do, and reach out to me or check us out online. Thank you.